is gonna be a quick tour of my bike. If I'm a little bit sweaty right now, I apologize. I literally just came back from a bike ride and figured I would make this video because it has been requested by a few people that are curious about my bike. So here is my bike tour. I will link all the products down below as I always do in case you find any of these things cool and you want to get yourself some too because you want to be like me. If I have product reviews for other things like my helmet, my gloves, I'll also link those down below. Whew, give me a second, it's hot. Just came back from a bike ride visiting Theodore the tugboat. He's on his way to Ontario. My bike is a beautiful Bianchi. I'm not a bike expert here, so I'm gonna do the best that I can. It's a Chromo 900 tube. This bike, I believe, comes from the 80s. From what I understand, I'm the second owner of this bike, so I got really lucky. I was looking for a new bike. I had an old one that I called Scarlet. I don't really have a name for this one. I've had it for a while. Actually, comment below if you have any good names for this bike. Something classy, something elegant, because it's got this beautiful brown gold theme. So like, obviously I match my bicycle, because hello. The funny thing is I had bought a yellow Peugeot the day before. I didn't love it, but it was a bike that was in my size and I was impatient and I bought it. I ended up losing 50 bucks on it, but took apart some pieces and sold them separately, so I kind of made my monies back. The next day, I was still browsing on Facebook Marketplace and found this one in a bike shop that was far, far away up north. It had just been posted. I wrote them and I went the next day with my car to go get it. And I'm so glad because I love this baby. I love this bike so much. Oh. She makes me so happy. She, he, I don't know, it's gender neutral, sometimes it changes. But then I had two bikes for a few days and I sold the other one, the other Peugeot that was kind of in a weird condition anyway. Those little mix and match parts. This bike, from what I understand, is pretty much OEM, except for the wheels because after a while those wheels degrade, so those have to be replaced, but pretty much everything else is OEM. So I had bought replacement parts to change the shifters and stuff because I wanted shifters that clicked. But I ended up buying them off eBay. OEM stuff is very expensive to find, by the way. And I was gonna get them replaced in a bike shop, but then I just kind of like the manualness of this bike. It's so analog, it's so vintage, and it's authentically vintage. Not great at absorbing shocks, as you would expect on a road bike. And the road conditions here, even for cycling paths, are at best. It's really shaky and I'm just like going everywhere and feeling all of that on my joints. It's wonderful. I try to not lock the elbows to try and absorb some of that shock, but yeah, it's a lot. Honestly, everything about it is so beautiful. I thought about converting it into an e-bike with the switch bike system that was on Kickstarter, but I didn't want to make it ugly with this thing. I didn't want to put a back fender. I didn't want to put a rear rack. Literally because I just think that would make it ugly, and I love my bicycle as is and it looks beautiful. And I know it's like it's superficial, it's vain, I don't care of whatever you say. I've said this to other people that kind of just looked at me funny and I was like, wait till you see my bike. And then I showed them my bike and they were like, yeah, okay, I wouldn't put a rear rack on it either. I'm like, no, I'll just put it on my back and hurt my back, but not my bicycle. Oh, that's dirty, I don't touch that. It's got, I believe, 12 speed because there's a gear, front gear thing is like 2 and then the back one has 6, so I think logically it's 6 times 2, 12. The bike owner made sure that everything was running and tuned up. He also threw in a frame chain stay protector, which prevents the chain from hitting the frame directly. If the chain would bounce up and down, it'll hit the protector instead. I replaced the bar tape myself actually because it was in really rough condition, the original, and it was just a thin black tape on it, no padding. So I put really thick paddings. I did it myself. Did a pretty decent job, except I ended up ripping the brake cover. Unfortunately, looked into buying those OEM. They run for like 100 plus on eBay, which is pretty ridiculous. So I ended up not getting that, putting some sort of tape on it that sort of color matched. At some point, I'll have to get a replacement or it'll rip off because if I change the bar tape, that's gonna be something. But considering how infrequently I ride my bike and now I have biking gloves, my 1000 biking gloves, I don't see a need for me to change that bar tape anytime soon. It's not like a white bar tape. It's not going to be really gross, even though it will be gross. It could be gross. It won't visually look gross. And by the way, the biking gloves, something I hadn't mentioned in my review, my coworker told me that he fell when he was younger biking and it ripped off all of his skin. And obviously that hurt because there's a lot of nerve endings in there. And then if you can't use your hands, that's rough. But he still has scars from it, like decades later. So that just gave me a bigger case for the gloves. Like there's not much padding in here, but even this little bit of padding helps. And on top of this, the bar tape has a lot of padding in it. But just that fact alone, it made a really good case for wearing gloves. Then when I bike, I have my 1000 helmet. I have a Kryptonite lock. It's a pretty sturdy lock. I usually just bring this one around. Sometimes I'll bring the extra extension I use just to lock the bike in the bike mount that I have in the garage. I've never had any issues with it. This is a pretty sturdy lock. It's not the top of their line, but I never leave my bike outside very long. I don't leave it overnight outside, even planning on getting a GPS tracker for it. I've registered it with the police. I have the original pedals that came with it. I have these nice AliExpress pedals that I have are super lightweight downstairs and like a box of extra biking gear stuff that I've accumulated, but ended up keeping that. The strap is about to rip off, but it hasn't ripped off yet. So until it does, I shall keep it as is and eventually will replace it with probably a matching leather color of that. I have really strong bike lights in the front and back that I got from AliExpress. I'll link those down below and I'll link equivalents as well if you don't want to buy them off AliExpress. Don't remember the lumens. If I do remember them, I'll put them right here. Very strong. I never have it at the maximum. I always have it at the second mode of intensity or flashing. The only issue is that sometimes it ends up pointing upwards, so I have to point it downwards. Once I was biking down a hill and there was so much vibrations that it shot off of my bike. Ended up coming back, soldering it back together, sticking an elastic over it, and it's been fine so far. Surprisingly great. Rechargeable, love it, waterproof. It's not locked into my bike, it's just held by rubber. And I thought that would be an issue, like maybe somebody would steal it, but nobody has even stolen it. My two lights, no one stole it, no one cares. And if they do steal it, it didn't cost me that much. I'll just get another one. But so far it's been great. My bike bell, which I love, from a company called Creamsicle. It's a European brand, so I'm gonna link their distributing stores and retailers down below. So you can always see if your local shop has one. But if not, I will link a similar one that I found from 1000 that it looks quite similar. The comments and reviews are positive for it, like pretty much all of other 1000's product. And if you're already planning on getting a bunch of different, 1000 products, might as well throw that in there too if you want the bell. The bell looks perfect with this. I had that bell on my previous bike, like a white and red bike, and it didn't look as nice. And then when I got this bike, upgrade, it just looks so good. I love my bike so much. And then over here I have my loop mount, but the loop mount it's the version 1. I really don't use it after my phone has dropped out of it a few times. I've contacted Loop Mount, asked them if they would be interested in sending me their version 2 loop mount twist. They said yes. So when I get my hands on that in the fall, I will make a review of that. Everything on the bike was really, really in good condition. I messed up a few things like the sticker, the BIANCHI sticker, when I was trying to put my U-lock holder on there. There's a rubber piece inside and then you clamp things, and I moved it around and that rubber was tight, so tight that it ended up kind of shifting the sticker a bit. Sticker sole that it cracked. I wanted to try and get a new sticker for that, but the stuff is so old, and this model I don't believe is a very popular model. They're classic green Bianchi model that you see everywhere. I couldn't find those stickers. I considered custom making them myself. I have a friend that does vinyls for cars. I got samples from him. I had made it in Illustrator, and in the end I was like, it's not that big of a deal. I can live without it. Yes, I can live without it. It's okay, my bike's not perfect anymore, but I still love her. I really like the brake cords. I don't even think you can get that anymore. I haven't changed the brake cables so far, so I have no idea if they'll be able to keep that because it's so unique, and I have not been able to find transparent brake cords like this. Every detail of this bicycle, oh, I love it. Rims are gold as well.
The wheel is a Schwalbe Lugano A. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if it's a good wheel or not, but it's a 700 by 23C in terms of size.
I have hex locks in different parts of my bike. You could basically replace every piece of hardware on your bike. If I understand correctly, with hex locks, they play with, I think, the molecular structure of the metal slightly so that each one is unique, which means that if you need to get another one, you actually have to give them your key code, that they give you all the papers, you get a key code, you don't lose that, and then you'll be able to order other ones so that you still use the same key for all of them. And basically it blocks the piece inside so you can't put a hex key in there, making it much more difficult or nearly impossible to steal. Push that in, pull that out. There it is. So you have to make any adjustments. That's a regular Allen key. After that, you can put it back in and remove it. Regular magnets will not remove it. And then on the back, I have this U-lock holder from a company called OopsMark. Fits for Kryptonite, but the only problem that I didn't foresee and that it wasn't described is that if your seat is too low, which in my case it is, the U-lock hits the brake. Ended up ruining the rubber here a little bit. I also don't like it clanking, and it's probably unsafe, so I don't use it for that. I've just left it on though. People always ask me what it is. It looks cute, it's leather, I've just left it. I have used it once to hold ice cream though, so I guess that is its function. Very useful. The seat, I believe the seat is original. It's a very interesting texture to it. When I first got it, putting leather conditioner to soften it up a little bit. And on the top bar, the top tube, I ended up putting, like I said, my friend has a vinyl car company, vinyl protectors. I ended up asking for a transparent piece. This is like heavy duty for the car, and ended up sticking it all on the top tube. If you look closely, you'll see little air bubbles and pockets. Protected it even more because every time I lean my bike on something, I don't want it to scratch. Down tube and the stem tube, I believe they're called, is slightly protected by that Bianchi original sticker. So it's quite protected, my baby. There was actually a water bottle holder that was on my bicycle, but I removed it because I didn't like the look of it. I always have my backpack with me, and I stick my U-lock in there and I stick my water bottle in there. So I don't really have a need for the water bottle holder because I'm not gonna be biking and drinking at the same time. So that's it for my bike tour review. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments below what I should name my bike. If there's any of these products that you are interested in and that you think you're gonna buy too, or if you have any suggestions for me to upgrade my bike and add things. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification, and I shall see you in the next video.